And today it's my pleasure to introduce to you my friend Madalyn. She not only is a brilliant astrologer, but she has two beautiful grandchildren that I just adore seeing photos on Facebook. And she has come to us so that she can let us into the world of astrocartography. But before we get there, I'd like her to tell us about how she became a astrologer, how she got involved with astrolabe, and how astrolabe can work for you. So without further ado, Madalyn, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me, Patricia. It's my pleasure. Um, well, how I got involved in astrology is very interesting story. I think I was married. My first husband, Mr. Hillis, was a chiropractor, is a chiropractor, and the now owner of Astrolabe, Gary Kristen, went to him for back issues. And he was bartering. He wanted to barter. And my ex husband said, "Oh, well, you've always liked astrology. Why, I'm bartering with this guy. Why don't you get your chart done?" And I said, "Okay." And I thought that I couldn't believe what he was telling me because before that, all I really knew about astrology was sun sign things. And I did have the Write Your Own Horoscope book by Joseph Gadavage, but then it told you needed this thing called an ephemeris, which I had no idea. This was back in 1970, well, actually in the late 60s. I had no idea where to get an ephemeris. I was a kid. So, but anyway, so that's the first. I always say that was the day that I met astrology. I had that reading on March 3rd, 1979. And I had just had my first child the year before. And so I wasn't working. And he's the father of one of my beautiful grandchildren. And I thought, well, this is a good opportunity. So I asked Gary the next time he was in the office. When I say I wasn't working, I was kind of working as helping out in the office. But I asked if he could recommend a good book and that I was interested in astrology. And he said, well, he told me to read Astrology by Ronald Davison. And so that was my first real astrology book. And then anyway, he agreed to teach me, and he said, "I don't usually take beginners, but you have the chart of an astrologer, and you'll be a big deal in astrology one day, and maybe even be on the NCGR board." And I thought he was out of his mind, but I did eventually become the chair of the NCGR board, and the rest, as they say, is history. So he moved up here to start Astrolabe um, about 8 months after I started studying with him. And so after that, he said, go to the NCGR meetings at Montclair State College. And that's where I met Bruce Schofield, and Gary had been the president of the NCGR chapter. And when he moved up here, Mimi Donner Levine, I don't know if you knew her, Miriam Levine, she became the president. And the woman that was the secretary when Gary resigned, the secretary resigned. So she asked me if I'd be the secretary of the chapter. And I said, sure. And I started going to these meetings. Oh, and I should say, when Gary taught me, he taught me Uranian astrology without ever teaching me basic astrology.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Oh, by the way, for those of us who don't know what NCGR stands for,
uh, National Council for Geocosmic Research, and their website is geocosmic.org, and they have chapters all over the country for those who might be interested in going. And they usually have monthly meetings and speakers and teachers and that kind of thing. They also have a certification exam, a 4-level exam to get a certification as a consulting astrologer or research astrologer. They have 2 tracks. So, yeah, so I went, and then I had to start, kind of um, filling in the gaps, so to speak, with house rulerships and all of the stuff that are not part of Uranian or symmetrical astrology. And so I became quite active, and that was the end of 1979, 1980. So where are we now? 46 years later? God.
yeah.
Excuse me.
I know it's interesting because when I look back and I realize I've been doing this for 5 decades, it's like, wow. But you know what? We have been blessed because we have gotten to be able to meet some of the most powerful astrologers. I mean, you and I obviously have a dear, dear friend in spirit, Michael Luton, um, and his work and his books just absolutely was able to enlighten all of us with a sense of fun in astrology. And like sometimes people, I think, get a little discouraged because they don't think, oh, this could be fun. But, I love Michael and I know you do too. And we miss him dearly, but we still know that his literature and his wisdom is lives on.
Well, it's funny you should mention Michael, because when I became secretary of the New Jersey chapter of the NCGR, I wasn't involved on a national level yet. And Mimi, who I mentioned a few minutes ago, said, I want you to call this guy Michael Luton and ask him to come to speak. And Michael said I was the first person, and he's mentioned it many times, the first person outside of people in New York City, the first establishment astrology organization that asked him to come to speak. So he would jokingly say that I helped launch his career. And, you know, and yes, and I love Michael, and you know, I got to see him a few months before he died. It was a great effort to for me, because I was visiting family in Florida, my beautiful granddaughter, and he was about an hour or so away from where they live, and we went in a, how the rainstorms are in Florida. So we drove through a lot of rain, and we went to pick him up. And uh, he had a hard time negotiating walking, and it was really tough to see him like that. But we had a lot of fun that day anyway.
Yes, I mean, and for those of you who wind up going to UAC, you will have missed the times where Michael would put on plays and you would actually work with the astrology that was happening. It was so amazing that these plays, not only were they fun to watch, but they were predictive. So when people say to me, oh, astrology, well, it's got a fun factor if you bring the fun factor people into it.
Yeah.
And yes, I know there are a lot of serious astrologers, but I like to think that because I've been teaching children astrology, I have to keep it fun because they will.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, Michael, you mentioned the plays. The first one he did was called Scorpio, I think. And I wasn't involved in that. I was busy with my second child and didn't get to that UAC. That was 1986. But after that, the next one he did was in New Orleans in, I think, 1989, and it was called I Was Nostradamus's Girlfriend. And actually, on an airplane ride the year or 18 months before, back from Texas, Michael and I ended up on the same flight. And we started writing I Was Nostradamus's Girlfriend. Well, we started the concept, and I gave him one of the best jokes right there on the airplane.
Well,
And people, talking, I know this is supposed to be about me, but Michael is a big part of me. And when um, people would come up to him, he was very secretive about his chart. I think I may be one of the only people who actually has his chart because he wanted me to look at it when he was going to have heart surgery. And the heart surgery was actually on my birthday. And he said, I think that means you should look at it. And so I believe he would have given me the correct chart. Otherwise, why bother, right? But anyway, he was very secretive about his chart, and people would come up to him at cocktail parties and say, well, Michael, what is it in your chart that makes you so funny? And I would say, oh, nothing. I give him all his jokes. So, but yeah, dear heart. Eventually, after my mother died in 1993, I was actually offered a job at Matrix Software. And when the folks here, Rob Hand and Gary Kristen and Pat White, heard that I might go to their competitor, they made me an offer I couldn't refuse. And so I moved up here in 90, yeah, in 94. So it'll be 32,
32 years. Yeah.
32 years. I joined Astrolabe, and I mean, I don't know what to say. When Gary said to me, you'll be an astrologer and it's a great career, and you'll get to do things you never imagined that you would do. And it was true. I mean, I've done so much traveling. I've been to England to lecture and Istanbul and, you know, just amazing experiences. And as you said, meeting some of the greatest astrologers on the planet, and, making great friends. We also just lost Lee
I
Lehman.
know.
Lee was Lee was a good friend. Um, so many. I mean, I can't keep track. Maria K. Sims was a huge part of my life. She was the owner of Astro Computing Services. And it later became ACS Publications. They sell the ephemeris that when I was 12, I didn't know what that was.
Well, a lot of people don't know what they are, but this is one.
Ephemeris.
Ephemeris. And, our young people don't necessarily have them because you and I, we've written charts by hand. And
Oh
it
yeah.
was, without that, you would never know where the placements of the stars are. But, all of this has been great fun. But I love astrocartography. And
Uh-huh.
I know that's one of your creative outlets as far as helping people understand it. And
Well,
Would you
yeah,
like to explain it to them?
I'll try. Aside from my work here at Astrolabe, I also consult with people, and a large part of my practice is astrocartography. And so it's a map, and on the map are lines that, so where when you're born in a particular place, like I was born in Brooklyn, and my chart had Gemini rising and um, and Mercury right on the ascendant. But had I been born in California, I wouldn't have Mercury rising right and Gemini rising and Mercury conjunct the ascendant. I would have another sign rising. And so the lines are plotted on the map. And the theory is that if you go to those lines, you get sort of the influence of those lines in your life. And sometimes you don't even have to go to them. There's something called remote activation, where, like, for instance, my husband, my second husband, comes from my sun rising line. And so even though I didn't meet him there, but that that's and the sun is the male, so that seems to fit. So people come to me and want to know, sometimes it's, we're ready to retire, where should we go, what I need, my health isn't good, I need a good place to go to for health, I need a uh, I want to meet a man or a woman, um, or uh, I just want to, go somewhere where I can, you know, retreat into myself and write a book. And I don't want to be bothered with outside things. So people have all sorts of different reasons of what they're looking for in a place. And with astrocartography and the tools of the maps, we are um, able to um, help them find that. So that's a huge part of my practice. You mentioned astrolabe, and maybe we talked about solar fire, which is uh, our main program here. Solar fire has the maps in there, so you can look at them, or you could go to other websites, other places on the web, to see. But it's not as it it's important to understand. I have an expression: not all Venuses are created equally. So to just go, oh, my Venus is rising, in Bermuda or whatever, so I'm going to go there. But you may not have a good Venus. You might have Venus that's harshly aspected, or a Venus that's in debility, or something like that. So and then what does the relocated chart look like in that place too? So that's the other thing that needs to be looked at. So um it's not as easy as just I'm going to go to my Jupiter line, or I'm going to go to my Venus line, and life is going to be hunky dory. um in the new version of solar fire that we're working on now, we'll be using Google Maps, and
Wow.
you'll be able to zoom in to your own street and look at uh, local space lines and other kinds of lines. And I remember I studied with Jim Lewis. He was another good friend, and he was the person who popularized astrocartography. I always tell the story. that I was watching a soap opera, one of my guilty pleasures when I was a stay-at-home mom back in the 80s. And there was a character on One Life to Live who said, and she was sort of a free spirit type. Oh, I have to go. I have an appointment to get my astrocartography chart done. And Jim got a kick out of that. But anyway, he popularized it. And there was something else I wanted to say about that, and now I don't remember what I wanted to say. Oh, so he used to joke, well, my Pluto line goes right through a chair in a certain astrologer's, I'm not going to name names, living room, who had given him a hard time at one point about his work. And now, so when we started, I have a copy of this program, even though it hasn't been released yet. And I looked, and don't you know his Pluto line does go right through a chair in that person's? And
Wow.
I thought Jim would just die again if he saw this. But um, yeah, he was really I mentioned Lee, and one time I had taken my kids down to Epcot, and they have this like giant phone. I don't know if you've ever been there, and you go in. It's like a phone booth, but it's like this giant telephone. I can't explain it, but it's huge. And I needed to call someone, and I called Lee, and and it was there that I found out that Jim was pretty ill, and I called him, and somebody said, um, I guess it was Angel Thompson, his friend
Right.
Angel, who I was keeping in touch with her, and she said, Jim's not answering the phone, but he's listening to messages if you want to, say goodbye. And so I called up, and then he picked up the phone, and I said, I thought you weren't answering, the phone. And he said, well, it was you. And that was, I can't tell you what that meant to me, that I did get a chance to say goodbye. And I've had, there's just too much of this going around now. I'm 75 almost, and it's, becoming like a very frequent occurrence of like,
Well, you see, that's my biggest regret for the younger generation. And I really feel as though that I encourage all of them, because we have stood on the shoulders of giants. I mean, whether it's Jim, I know Angel Thomas did her feng shui and, all kinds of local space, all kinds of different aspects. So, astrology is a wide world. And we have been blessed that for centuries there have been astrologers. And yes, we got to know some of the more modern ones, but diving into this field is beyond the sun sign astrology. It's really getting to know yourself at another level in which you never thought you'd get to know. But I think the astrocartography piece is really important
yeah,
because I like to do experiential astrology. In other words, go look at your chart and then go to that line and see what you experience, you
absolutely.
know?
Yep.
And it could be wild. In fact, I said that to a client of mine. I said to her, I said, okay, you're going to your Venus line, and you got a pretty good Venus here. She and her Venus line was Los Angeles. She got off the plane. She was at baggage claim, and some guy was already trying to offer her his phone number. But that's that's LA. Still, we are in a time where a lot of people want to move,
Oh yeah,
and I mean, it's like because jobs are moving, life is moving, and change is in the air. This is,
absolutely.
you know,
I, yeah, especially since COVID, when people discovered they could work remotely.
hmm hmm
Well, I don't have to stay in this big city anymore and pay these exorbitant rents. I want to move to a nice place where I can breathe clean air and work remotely.
exactly, exactly. I know that having an opportunity to be able to understand where we can go and how we can do this is really fun. Now, every astrologer I know, practically most of them all have solar fire.
Hmm.
It's an amazing software program in which it multitask. I almost want to say, it goes forward, it goes back. You can go practically anywhere now, coming up anywhere on the globe with it,
It,
which is so exciting.
and it does just about every technique so even if you're a beginner, if you go to a conference and hear about a technique like geodetic, for instance, or something new, you can go back and Solar Fire will have it. You may not have ever noticed it before, but it has it. And I do want to say when will this air? Will it air before April 15th? I forget.
No, no, it's not going to air until May.
Ah, okay. Oh well. We were having a sale, but I won't, but it ends April 15th. So,
Oh, okay. Well, the thing is,
but if you know what, for the people who view this podcast, if you, I will create a discount code and
how fabulous.
you'll be able to get 10% off the solar fire, and we'll just call it Bell 10, Bell.
Oh, what a gift. What a gift. Tell me, will it be applicable to Macs? Can you use it on a Mac, or do you have to have a different type of computer?
Well, it is still a Windows program,
Okay.
but you would get an emulator like Parallels or a virtual PC. And the new version will be for Mac, the one that we're working on, that'll have the Google Maps and that feature that I mentioned earlier. But that isn't available yet, but you'd be in the upgrade path. So I forget what I said, 10 or 20% off. Did I
You,
say?
well, you said Bell 10, but we'll take 20.
Let's make it Bell 20.
All right.
And
All right.
and then you'll get in the loop. You'll be in and be able to upgrade from this version that you would purchase now at 20% off, and when the new version comes out, you would just pay an upgrade price, which is typically like $99.
Okay, so how do they find you, Madeline?
So they can
Whether I want an astrocartography reading or whether I want to get this program at this great rate at Bell 20, I mean, wow, wow, wow. I am so grateful. Thank you. Go ahead, tell us how to get to find you.
Okay, so to go to uh, alabe.com, ALA, B as in boy, E.com. And you would be able to use that discount code. And let's say we'll say it'll work from like May 15th until Um, what is the air date?
Oh, the air date is you'll be in May.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, we'll find out specifically after this. And so from the day that it airs for a whole month, you would be able
Great.
to use that Bell 20 discount code. And then um, to find me for an astrocartography reading, my website is Cape Cod, like the place, and I just happen to live here, Cape Cod Astrologer at um, .com, or my email address is capecodastrologer@gmail.com.
Fabulous. So, can you share what type of astrocartography is for you there in Cape Cod? Did you pick it out or did you?
Yeah, so I have, it's not that different than my own birth chart, but I do have, this is where the sun is angular. And I forget, I think I have something going on with Uranus as well. I think my Uranus becomes rising here.
Well, no wonder because Uranus does rule astrologers, and boy, are in for some change as Uranus is shifting at the end of April and moving into Gemini. So, are you going to be busier than ever with your Gemini ascendant and Uranus kissing? Well, it won't kiss it for a while, will it?
Um, no, not for a while. But yeah, because it would be, yeah, it's going to be a while. But yeah, I'm sure I'll be busy.
Oh,
Uh,
well, you're always busy. And, I really hope that if somebody is truly interested in their astrocartography and they're truly interested in becoming an astrologer and have this opportunity that they would normally not get with this Bell 20, please get a hold of Madalyn and thank her for this chance. I know I'm thrilled about it. And it's a fabulous doorway to open up.
yeah, yeah.
It's a fabulous doorway to open up. And I have to say this, you will spend hours and hours and hours on that program because there's so much there and so much to learn. And it's really, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's a difficult program to use. Do you?
No, I think it's very intuitive. I really do. And we do have videos at our website. So if you went to alave.com and went under support, and you'll see software updates and documentation. And as part of the documentation, we have videos that I actually did instructing people on how to use Solar Fire. And you could watch that and even before you purchase. And
Wow.
right? Because they're free videos,
Oh,
and you can watch it and see, oh, is this for me or not for me? And I just remembered that you sent me that flyer thing, and it says this is going to air May 28th. So we'll make that Bell 20 start on May 28th, and it will end July 1st.
that's awesome. Thank you again. I mean, I am grateful, and I know everybody that gets Solar Fire will be grateful. And I can't wait to see the Google program apps with the astrocartography. I I guess, being an astrologer and having done astrocartography, but the idea that you're actually going to see it, how brilliant is that? I know there's genius amongst you, and you're part of that genius team. And I really am grateful for you being here today and sharing your support and your love with all of us here. And what can I say? Thank you, thank you, thank you, Madalyn.
You're
What an
very
opportunity.
you're very welcome, and I can't wait to give you a hug at UAC.
Yes, yes, yes. All good things. Okay, so I will see you in September. By the way, that's my birthday.
Is it?
Well, I have the same birthday as Lee Lehman, except I'm older.
That's
So, but
that's the third, right?
no, Lee is September 9th.
The ninth, right? Yeah.
Right. And my solar return is on the 8th. And it's just exciting times for all of us, whether you're coming to Lilydale as a layperson to begin to meet the astrologers that are here for this time. Your friend Rick Levine will be here, Rachel Lang will be here, Ann Ortley. Um,
Oh, yeah.
we got Kenneth Miller, who I know you know, and Cameron Allen and Cassandra Butler and myself will all be here. And
That's
it's going to
great.
be, yes, it is. This is the first time we've had astrology during the season in Lilydale as a week. So it's an initiation. The board of directors decided upon it, and then I was told to go invite some people I know, and now we have the podcast and we have you. So you're going to be with us, and I will definitely be reminding everybody to contact you. And
Well,
thanks again.
thank you, and I'll see you soon.
Yes, you will. Bye for now.
Bye.